The Awakening. Captain Eliana Frost stood at the viewport of the Alliance vessel Harbinger, watching the stars. Behind her, the bridge hummed with subdued activity, crew members whispering instead of speaking aloud. Nobody wanted to draw attention to what they were doing, approaching the quarantine zone surrounding Sol system. "Captain," said Lieutenant Vren Tar, her tactical officer. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of nervousness in quadrites. "We're approaching the outer marker. Stealth systems at maximum, but what, Lieutenant?" Eliana asked, not turning from the viewport. "I don't think it matters," Vren said. "If the reports are true, they already know we're here." Eliana nodded. The Alliance had lost 7 surveillance satellites in this sector over the past month. No debris, no distress signals, just silence. And silence around Earth was never a good sign. Defensive posture only, she reminded the bridge crew. The containment treaty remains in effect. "We observe, we report, we do not engage." Alliance High Command had been clear. Earth's quarantine had stood for 3 centuries, ever since the last war. Nobody went in. Nothing came out. That was the agreement, the price for peace after human soldiers had torn through the combined might of 3 galactic empires in just 6 standard weeks. "Captain, something's wrong with our scans," called out Ensign Tora from her station. "We're picking up normal solar activity, the regular planetary orbits. But what, Ensign? No artificial satellites, no debris field, no defense grid." Eliana's spine went cold. The defense grid, the massive network of monitoring stations that the Alliance had positioned around Sol, had been there for centuries. Thousands of automated platforms, all watching Earth to ensure the humans remained contained. And now, they were gone. "Full stop," she ordered. "Communication blackout. No signals out." The Harbinger drifted, a shadow against the void. Eliana pulled up the mission brief on her data pad, scanning the intelligence reports. 7 missing satellites. Each sent to investigate after the previous one disappeared. Each vanishing without a trace. "Lieutenant Tar, your assessment?" Vren's gray skin flushed slightly blue anxiety. "Either the humans have developed technology that can remove our most advanced monitoring systems without triggering alerts, or they've been doing this for years, and we're only noticing now." The bridge fell silent. Eliana considered the implications. The containment treaty had been clear. Humans would remain in their solar system, stripped of their advanced weapons, their fleets dismantled, their colonies abandoned. In return, the Alliance would not exterminate their species. It had seemed like mercy at the time. "Launch a probe," Eliana ordered. "Standard observational package. Let's see what happens." The small probe detached from the Harbinger, its thrusters barely visible as it moved toward the inner system. On the main display, they watched its progress, steady, normal, unthreatening. 3 minutes later, it vanished from their screens. "No explosion," Vren reported, his voice clinical despite the tension. "No debris. No energy spike. It's simply gone." "Like it was never there," Eliana murmured. A chill ran down her spine. This wasn't in the briefing. High Command didn't tell us everything. "They never do," Vren said, too quietly for the rest of the crew to hear. Eliana turned to her communications officer. "Prepare a message to High Command. Inform them that." The ship shuddered, systems flickering momentarily before stabilizing. "What was that?" Eliana demanded. "Unknown, Captain," replied her chief engineer, Hallis Wren, his tentacles working furiously over his console. "Some kind of energy wave passed through us. All systems operational, but there's something else." "On screen," Eliana ordered. The main display flickered, showing not the void of space but what appeared to be a recorded message. A human face, pale skin, dark hair cut short, as an unusual shade of green, looked out at them. She wore a simple gray uniform with no insignia. "Alliance Vessel Harbinger," the human said, her voice calm and measured. "This is Director Lyra Kendrick of Earth's Sentinel Division. You have crossed into protected space. Your presence has been noted. Your mission profile has been scanned. You will proceed no further." Eliana felt her crew's shock like a physical force. The human knew their ship's name, knew they were there, despite their stealth systems. "Impossible." "How did they?" began Vren, but Eliana silenced him with a gesture. The human continued. "The containment treaty remains in effect. We have respected its boundaries for 300 years. We expect the same courtesy from the Alliance. Your monitoring satellites were removed because they violated our sovereign space. They have been neutralized, not destroyed. Their crews were unharmed. Crews, Eliana whispered. The satellites were supposed to be automated. If you have questions about the status of Earth, you may direct them through proper diplomatic channels. This system remains closed to unauthorized personnel. You have 30 minutes to withdraw beyond the outer marker. The message ended, the screen returning to a view of empty space. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Vren broke the silence. Captain, the satellites didn't have crews. They were drones. Automated. I know that, Eliana said. Which means either the human is lying or High Command has been sending manned missions into Sol without telling anyone, Hallis finished. Eliana's mind raced. The implications were staggering. If the Alliance had been secretly violating the containment treaty and the humans knew about it. Captain, Vren interrupted her thoughts, his voice urgent. Long-range sensors are picking up something strange. Multiple objects approaching from the direction of Mars. On screen, Eliana ordered. The view changed to show what appeared to be empty space, but with odd distortions, like heat waves rising from desert sand. Magnify, she said. Enhance. The image zoomed in, sensors struggling to resolve what they were seeing. Then, slowly, shapes began to emerge. Ships, dozens of them, moving in perfect formation. They were unlike any vessels Eliana had ever seen. Sleek, dark, with no visible propulsion systems, weapons, or even running lights. They simply existed, sliding through space like shadows. Those can't be human vessels, Vren said, but his voice lacked conviction. The treaty stripped them of all advanced technology. Their ships are monitored, limited to outdated fusion drives and basic defensive systems. Eliana stared at the approaching fleet. The truth hit her like a physical blow. The treaty was a lie, she said. Or at least, our understanding of it was. Captain, think about it, she said, addressing her senior officers. 300 years ago, humanity fought the combined might of the galaxy to a standstill. They destroyed 3 empires in 6 weeks. And then they just surrendered, accepted confinement to one system, gave up their technology. Understanding dawned on Vren's face. You think they were never contained at all? I think, Eliana said carefully, that we're about to find out what humanity has been doing for the past 3 centuries. The comm system crackled, and Director Kendrick's voice returned. Alliance Vessel Harbinger. You have 25 minutes remaining. Please acknowledge. Eliana hesitated only briefly. Open a channel, she ordered. When her communications officer nodded, she spoke. Director Kendrick, this is Captain Eliana Frost. We acknowledge your message and are preparing to withdraw. However, I request clarification on several points. A pause, then, proceed, Captain Frost. Our intelligence indicates that Earth should not possess the technology we're currently witnessing. The Containment Treaty. Captain, Kendrick interrupted, the Containment Treaty prevented humanity from expanding beyond Sol system. It did not limit our internal development. Your alliance chose to interpret our compliance as weakness. That was your error, not ours. Eliana exchanged glances with Vren. The defense grid, she said. The monitoring stations. Where are they? Neutralized, as I said. Their crews have been processed and will be returned to Alliance space within the week. Those stations were unmanned, Eliana countered. Automated drones. A faint smile appeared on Kendrick's face. Is that what your high command told you? Interesting. Perhaps you should ask them about Operation Silent Watch and the 300 Alliance personnel currently enjoying our hospitality. The bridge fell silent. Eliana felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. If Kendrick was telling the truth, High Command had been running secret operations in Sol space, explicitly violating the treaty they claimed to uphold. Why now? Eliana asked. If you've had these capabilities all along, why reveal them? Kendrick's expression grew serious. Because your alliance has been testing our boundaries with increasing frequency. The Vega incident last year. The attempted infiltration of Titan Base 3 months ago. And now this. She paused. We've maintained our isolation as agreed. But do not mistake our silence for weakness, Captain. Humanity was not banned from the stars because we were dangerous. We were banned because your leaders feared what we might become. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Captain, Vren said quietly, those ships are still approaching. Eliana made her decision. Helm, set course to withdraw beyond the outer marker. Full power to stealth systems. She looked at her communications officer. Prepare a full report for High Command. Include everything we've seen and heard. And Vren, she added, turning to her tactical officer, I want every scrap of information you can find on Operation Silent Watch. Something tells me we've just stumbled into a much bigger game than we realized. As the Harbinger turned away from Sol, Eliana remained at the viewport, watching the stars. Earth had been silent for 3 centuries, but that silence had never been surrender. It had been preparation. And now, the galaxy would remember why they had feared humanity in the first place. High Admiral Theron Dars of the Alliance Defense Council stared at the classified report, his face an expressionless mask. Around the council table, the other representatives of the Alliance's member species waited in tense silence. Captain Frost's report has been verified? He asked finally. Yes, Admiral, replied Intelligence Director Morven Kell, her holographic form flickering slightly. Her sensor logs match what we've been seeing. The humans have technology far beyond what should be possible under the treaty constraints. And Operation Silent Watch? Asked Counselor J.L. Thavis, the Arcturian representative. Is it true? Theron hesitated, then nodded once. Silent Watch was established 70 years ago. Manned observation posts, disguised as automated satellites. Deep cover operatives. We needed to know what the humans were really doing. And what were they doing? Demanded Counselor Vaxell, the Meridian delegate, leaning forward on his forearms. Nothing, Theron said. That was the problem. Their development appeared to stagnate. Their population stabilized. Their system remained quiet. It made no sense. Because they knew you were watching, said a new voice. All heads turned to the doorway, where Commander Nyx Vorin stood, her uniform bearing the insignia of Alliance Special Intelligence. They've known about Silent Watch from the beginning. They've been feeding us exactly what we expected to see. Theron frowned. That's impossible. The operation was completely compartmentalized. No, Nyx said, approaching the table. It wasn't. She placed a data crystal on the projector, and a new image appeared above the table, a human man in an Alliance uniform. This is Lieutenant Commander Darius Vega. Served 15 years in Alliance intelligence. Decorated for bravery during the Proxima Uprising. Personally recruited for Silent Watch by Admiral Karis herself. I remember him, Theron said. He died in the line of duty 5 years ago. Surveillance accident near Jupiter. He didn't die, Nyx said. Because he never existed. Darius Vega was a human infiltrator. One of dozens, possibly hundreds, who have been working within our ranks for generations. The council chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Theron raised a hand for silence. That's not possible, he insisted. Our security protocols were compromised from the beginning, Nyx said. The humans didn't just develop technology during their isolation, Admiral. They developed patience. They played the long game. And now, they're making their move. What move? Asked Counselor Thavis. They haven't attacked anyone. They've simply revealed themselves. And that's the most terrifying part, Nyx said quietly. They don't need to attack. They've already won. Theron looked back at the report in his hands. The final line of Captain Frost's transmission haunted him. Director Kendrick's last words before we departed were simple. The quarantine was never to keep us in. It was to keep you out. Remember that when the truth comes. He looked up at the gathered representatives of the Alliance. We need to convene a full emergency session. And we need to decide what to do about humanity before they decide what to do about us. Outside the council chamber, beyond the reinforced walls and security fields, a maintenance worker paused in his duties, head tilted slightly, as if listening. His eyes, an unusual shade of green, narrowed slightly. Then he returned to his work, his movements unhurried. Patient. The message had been delivered. The awakening had begun. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the quiet was about to end. The Reckoning. Commander Darius Vega stood in the observation deck of the Phantom Eclipse, Earth's flagship, watching the stars. Unlike Alliance vessels with their bright lights and constant chatter, human ships operated in near darkness, the crew communicating through neural interfaces rather than spoken words. The silence was a discipline, a reminder of the path humanity had chosen centuries ago. Status report, he subvocalized, the command traveling through his neural link to the ship's systems. All Ghost Fleet vessels in position, came the response directly into his mind. Dormant cells activated in 17 key Alliance systems. Awakening protocol at 93% completion. Darius nodded, his reflection barely visible in the dark viewport. At 43, his face bore the subtle marks of genetic enhancement, eyes slightly too green, features too symmetrical. He had spent 20 years embedded within Alliance intelligence as Lieutenant Commander Marcus Helios before his death allowed him to return home. Now, everything humanity had worked for over 3 centuries was coming to fruition. And the Harbinger? He asked. Captain Frost has reported to Alliance High Command. The message has been delivered. Good, Darius said. It's time they remembered who we are. Behind him, a door slid open silently. Director Lyra Kendrick entered, her footsteps nearly soundless on the deck. Like all members of Earth's Sentinel Division, she moved with predatory grace, the result of neural enhancements and decades of training. The Alliance Defense Council is in emergency session, she reported. Our assets inside confirm they're panicking exactly as expected. And Operation Revenant. Lyra's expression remained neutral, but Darius detected the slight tension in her shoulders. Proceeding as planned. The first phase has begun. Darius turned back to the stars. Operation Revenant, humanity's contingency plan, designed centuries ago by the last generation to remember true war. The revelation of their technological advancement was only the beginning. You disapprove, he stated, not a question. I question the timing, Lyra replied carefully. The Awakening Protocol was designed as a defensive measure. We haven't confirmed hostile intent from the Alliance. They've been testing our boundaries for years, Darius countered. The Vega incident wasn't an accident. Even so, full activation of our dormant assets will irreversibly change the balance of power. There will be no going back. Darius studied her for a moment. Lyra had been born on Earth, raised in isolation like most humans. She hadn't experienced the Alliance firsthand as he had. The decision is made, he said finally. The Council of Shadows has spoken. We proceed as planned. Lyra inclined her head in acknowledgement, though her reservations remained clear in her posture. There's something else, she said. Our deep cover operative on Centauri Prime has reported unusual activity. Alliance ships disappearing, but not by our hand. Darius frowned. Explain. 3 Alliance patrol vessels vanished near the Helios Rift last week. Command assumed it was us, but our forces weren't anywhere near that sector. A third player? Darius mused. Or perhaps the Alliance is eliminating its own assets to create a pretext. There's more, Lyra continued. The operative intercepted coded transmissions referring to something called Prometheus Protocol. No details, but the security classification exceeds anything we've seen before. Darius absorbed this new information, his enhanced mind calculating possibilities. Maintain surveillance. I want to know what Prometheus Protocol is. Yes, Commander. Lyra hesitated, then added, the Harbinger has been ordered to a secure Alliance facility in the Arcturus system. Captain Frost is to be debriefed personally by High Admiral Theron Dars. Interesting, Darius said. Theron Dars is a reasonable man, for an Alliance hawk. His involvement suggests they're taking this seriously. Should we intercept the Harbinger? Darius considered the question carefully. No. Let Captain Frost deliver her report, but keep a shadow on her vessel. I want to know exactly what the Alliance plans to do with this information. As Lyra departed, Darius returned his attention to the stars. After centuries of waiting, humanity's patience was about to be rewarded or punished. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. You can't seriously believe these accusations, Captain Eliana Frost said, struggling to keep her voice level as she faced the Defense Council. The idea that humans have infiltrated the highest levels of Alliance command is not only possible but confirmed, interrupted Commander Nyx Vorin, her cold eyes fixed on Eliana. Your own report validates what we've suspected for years. The humans never disarmed. They simply went dark. The council chamber, deep within Arcturus Station, was smaller than Eliana had expected, an austere room with a single table where representatives from the Alliance's founding species sat in tense silence. High Admiral Theron Dars presided, his expression unreadable. What Commander Vorin fails to mention, said Counselor J.L. Thavis, the Arcturian representative, is that we've been violating the containment treaty ourselves for decades. Operation Silent Watch was explicitly forbidden under the terms we ourselves established. A necessary precaution, Nyx countered. One that has been vindicated by Captain Frost's discovery. Or perhaps, said a new voice, the humans merely responded to our provocations. All heads turned to the source. Krexnaville, the Saurian delegate, rarely spoke at these sessions. His scaled face remained impassive as he continued. 3 centuries ago, humanity fought us to a standstill. We did not contain them, we negotiated a peace. A peace we have now broken. Admiral Dars raised a hand for silence. These philosophical debates serve no purpose now. The fact remains that Earth possesses technology far beyond what should be possible under isolation. The Ghost Fleet that Captain Frost encountered represents a clear and present danger to Alliance security. With respect, Admiral Eliana said, the humans made no aggressive moves against my vessel. They issued a warning and allowed us to withdraw unmolested. This time, Nix said. But what about next time? Or have you forgotten what humans are capable of, Captain? The last war nearly destroyed 3 civilizations. That was 300 years ago, Eliana argued. No living human remembers those battles. They don't need to remember, Admiral Dars said quietly. They've been preparing all this time. The question is, for what? The chamber fell silent as each member contemplated the implications. Finally, Counselor Thavis spoke. Captain Frost, you had direct contact with this. Director Kendrick, what was your impression of her intentions? Eliana chose her words carefully. She was measured, controlled. She spoke of violations on our part, but made no threats beyond insisting we respect their territory. She paused. However, the technology they displayed suggests capabilities far beyond our current understanding. If they wanted to strike, I believe they could do so with devastating effect. Then why haven't they? Asked Krexnaville. An excellent question, Admiral Dars said. One that Commander Vorin believes she can answer. He nodded to Nix. Proceed with your briefing. Nix activated a holographic display in the center of the table. Images appeared, shadowy figures, redacted documents, surveillance footage. For the past 50 years, Alliance intelligence has been tracking what we believed were isolated security anomalies, she began. Information leaks, system compromises, unexplained personnel disappearances. We now believe these were part of a coordinated infiltration strategy by human operatives. The display showed a man in an Alliance uniform. This is Lieutenant Commander Marcus Helios. Served with distinction in Alliance intelligence for 20 years. 5 years ago, he was reported killed during a classified operation near the Rigel Expanse. The image changed to show what appeared to be the same man, but in different clothing, a simple gray uniform without insignia. This image was captured 3 weeks ago on Centauri Prime. Facial recognition confirms a 99.7% match. Nix looked around the table. Marcus Helios was never a real person. He was a human infiltrator, one of potentially hundreds embedded throughout our government and military. Murmurs of alarm spread around the table. Eliana stared at the image, a cold feeling spreading through her chest. How many others were there? How deep did the infiltration go? What's their objective? Admiral Dars asked. Based on access patterns and compromised systems, Nix replied, we believe they've been gathering intelligence on our defensive capabilities, command structures, and, she hesitated, in Prometheus protocol. The room went completely silent. Eliana noticed several council members exchange alarmed glances. Prometheus is above your clearance, Commander Vorin, Admiral Dars said sharply. With respect, Admiral, if the humans know about Prometheus, clearance levels are the least of our concerns, Nix responded. Eliana looked from face to face, confused. What is Prometheus protocol? Admiral Dars studied her for a long moment before responding. Our insurance policy, Captain, developed after the last war as a contingency if humanity ever became a threat again. Understanding dawned on Eliana. A weapon. A final solution, Nix said coldly. Designed to neutralize the human threat permanently. Eliana felt sick. You're talking about genocide. We're talking about survival, Admiral Dars countered. Prometheus was never meant to be used. It was a safeguard, nothing more. But now you're considering activation, Eliana said, the realization hitting her with force. Before anyone could respond, the chamber's security system flashed red, and a voice came over the comm system. Priority alert. Unknown vessels detected in Arcturus space. Defense grid offline. Repeat, defense grid offline. The council erupted in chaos. Admiral Dars barked orders into his communicator while Commander Vorin accessed a security terminal. Multiple contacts, Vorin reported, her voice tight. No IFF signatures. No emission profiles. They're just there. The Ghost Fleet, Eliana whispered. Impossible, Admiral Dars snapped. Arcturus is our most secure facility. They couldn't have followed you without detection. They didn't need to follow me, Eliana realized. They were already here. The main display activated without command, showing a familiar face, Director Lyra Kendrick, her expression grave. Alliance Defense Council, she said without preamble. This message is being transmitted to all your facilities simultaneously. 3 centuries ago, humanity agreed to isolation in exchange for peace. We have honored that agreement despite your repeated violations. Operation Silent Watch. The Vega Incident. And now, Prometheus Protocol. Admiral Dars paled. How could they possibly? Your security was compromised from the beginning, Kendrick continued. Every secret, every contingency, every weapon you developed against us, we know them all. We've been watching, waiting, hoping you would choose coexistence over fear. The display split to show multiple locations across Alliance space, orbital stations, planetary defense installations, military bases. At each site, systems were failing, doors opening, weapons powering down. As you can see, Kendrick said, your defenses are now under our control. Your fleets are neutralized. Your communications isolated. We could end the Alliance right now, if that were our intention. Then what is your intention? Admiral Dars demanded. Kendrick's expression softened slightly. To show you what you've never understood. Humanity wasn't banned from the stars because we were dangerous. We were banned because we represented something the Alliance could never accept. True independence. Freedom from the control you impose on every species that joins your collective. The display changed again, showing new images, planets Eliana didn't recognize, alien species not part of the Alliance. While you watched Sol System, believing us contained, we explored in other directions. We found worlds beyond your reach, species you've never encountered. We built something new, Admiral. Something better than the fear and control your Alliance represents. You violated the treaty, Commander Vorin accused. The treaty forbade us from entering Alliance space, Kendrick corrected. It said nothing about regions beyond your borders. We kept our word. Unlike you. Admiral Dars leaned forward. What do you want? The same thing we've always wanted. Peace. But peace built on truth, not lies. No more containment. No more monitoring. And, her voice hardened, the immediate and verifiable dismantling of Prometheus Protocol. Before Admiral Dars could respond, the chamber's doors opened. A maintenance worker entered, the same man from the surveillance image. Marcus Helios. Or rather, the human who had used that identity. Commander Vega, Kendrick acknowledged. Report. Prometheus facilities secured, he replied calmly, ignoring the stunned expressions of the council members. All components isolated. No activation possible. You see, Admiral, Kendrick said, we've been planning this day for generations. Every contingency, every possibility. You never contained us. We contained ourselves, by choice. Eliana watched the exchange with growing understanding. The humans had infiltrated the highest levels of Alliance government, neutralized their most powerful weapons, and now held the entire council at their mercy. And yet, they hadn't attacked, hadn't killed. They had simply revealed themselves. There's something else, Commander Vega said suddenly, his attention on a device on his wrist. Priority signal from the Helios Rift. Alliance Outpost Gamma 9 is under attack. Our forces? Kendrick asked, frowning. No, Vega replied, looking up with concern. Unknown configuration. Similar energy signatures to what we detected at Centauri Prime. The chamber's main display shifted to show real-time footage from the outpost, a research station orbiting a neutron star. Dark shapes moved against the void, unlike either human or Alliance design. Energy beams lashed out, cutting through the station's defenses like they weren't there. What is this? Admiral Dars demanded. Another human trick? Vega shook his head, his expression grave. Not ours. We've been tracking these incidents for months. Someone or something has been probing both human and Alliance territories. Testing defenses. Evaluating responses. Why weren't we informed? Nix demanded. Would you have believed us? Kendrick asked simply. The footage continued, showing the outpost's destruction. The attacking vessels moved with uncanny precision, methodically eliminating all resistance before disappearing back into the void. This is why we revealed ourselves now, Vega said, turning to face the council. Not to threaten you. To warn you. Warn us of what? Eliana asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. 3 centuries ago, humanity and the Alliance nearly destroyed each other, Kendrick said. In our isolation, we discovered something far worse waiting in the dark between stars. Something that has been watching all of us, learning our weaknesses, biding its time. The ancient enemy, Vega added. The reason the containment treaty really exists. Admiral Dar's face had gone ashen. That's classified beyond anything but the original signatories, Kendrick finished. Yes, we know. The truth buried in redacted clauses and forgotten appendices. The real reason humanity agreed to isolation. What truth? Eliana asked, looking between them. What ancient enemy? Vega approached the table, placing a data crystal on the projector. A new image appeared, ancient text, symbols Eliana didn't recognize. The last war wasn't just about territory or resources, he explained. It was about what humanity discovered on the edge of known space. Something that had been dormant for millennia. Something that feeds on conflict, grows stronger from the energy of civilizations at war. Our ancestors realized the truth too late, Kendrick continued. The more we fought, the stronger it became. The containment treaty wasn't about keeping humanity imprisoned. It was about creating a buffer, a quiet zone where this entity couldn't feed. And now it's waking up again, Vega said grimly, drawn by the tensions between our civilizations. Testing, probing, preparing. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Eliana looked at Admiral Dars, seeing the confirmation in his eyes. This wasn't deception or manipulation. This was the truth, hidden for centuries. If what you're saying is true, she said slowly, then we need to work together. Yes, Kendrick agreed. The time for secrets is over. Humanity didn't develop our technology just to fight the Alliance. We built it to defend against what's coming. Admiral Dars looked around the chamber, at the faces of the council members, then back to the humans who had so thoroughly infiltrated his government. It seems, he said heavily, that we have much to discuss. Commander Vega nodded, his expression solemn. Indeed. But we must move quickly. The enemy has been patient for centuries. But its patience, like ours, has limits. Outside the chamber, beyond the secure walls of Arcturus Station, the stars seemed to flicker momentarily, as if something vast and ancient had passed between them. A shadow against the void, watching, waiting. The quiet between worlds was ending. And what came next would determine the fate of all civilizations, human and alien alike. In the observation lounge of the Harbinger, Captain Eliana Frost stood beside Commander Darius Vega, watching as the combined Human Alliance fleet assembled. Ships of designs she'd never imagined moved in perfect formation alongside familiar Alliance vessels, preparing for the mission that would take them beyond the edge of known space. Do you think we can trust each other? She asked quietly. After centuries of deception on both sides. Vega considered the question. Trust is earned, Captain. But necessity makes for strange alliances. The ancient enemy, Eliana said. All this time, we thought the containment was about keeping humans isolated, when really, it was about creating a zone of calm, Vega finished. A place where conflict couldn't feed what sleeps in the void. And now it's awake. No, Vega corrected. Not fully awake. Not yet. But stirring. Hungry after centuries of fasting. Eliana turned to face him. Why did your people agree to the isolation? You could have fought. You could have won. Perhaps, Vega acknowledged. But at what cost? The last war nearly destroyed 3 civilizations. Our ancestors realized that victory would mean nothing if it only served to strengthen the true enemy. So they chose peace, even if it meant imprisonment. They chose patience, Vega corrected. They chose to play the long game. To build, to prepare, to infiltrate. To be ready when the time came. Across the void, more ships were arriving, representatives from worlds beyond Alliance space, civilizations humanity had discovered during their secret explorations. The fleet was growing, a united force preparing to face an enemy older than any of their civilizations. Do you think we can win? Eliana asked. Vega's gaze remained fixed on the assembling fleet. I think, he said carefully, that we finally have a chance. Not as humans, not as Alliance, but as something new. Something united. Behind them, the door slid open as Admiral Dars and Director Kendrick entered, their previous animosity set aside in the face of the greater threat. The final preparations are complete, Kendrick reported. The fleet will be ready to depart within the hour. Admiral Dars nodded. All Alliance worlds have been informed of the situation. The truth, after 3 centuries of secrets. And Prometheus Protocol? Vega asked. Dismantled, Dars confirmed. As agreed. Eliana studied the 4 of them, human and alien, once enemies, now reluctant allies. The quiet between their worlds had ended, but perhaps what followed wouldn't be war after all. "It's time," Kendrick said, checking a display on her wrist. "The probes have detected increased activity at the Helios Rift. Whatever's coming, it's coming soon." Vega straightened, his expression resolute. "Then we meet it head-on. Together." As they departed for the bridge, Eliana paused for one last look at the assembled fleet, the largest gathering of ships in the history of the galaxy, united against a common threat. The truth had finally emerged from centuries of shadow. Humanity hadn't been banned because they were dangerous to the Alliance. They had been isolated because together, they had awakened something far worse. And now, only together could they hope to defeat it. The quiet was over. The reckoning had begun.